Hello, this is Steve Cubby, and we have some breaking news for you. As you may know, journalist Jose Gutierrez was brutally assaulted at the Oakland protest against the raid on Richard Lee's Blue Sky and Oaksterdam University.
We're documenting this for posterity! Camera pole! We're not fucking friends! Why is someone gonna put a gun on your head? Why is you marshal in the hat right there, standing up. He's the one who shoved it. He's the one who started the shoving. We have it live on the internet. The U.S. Marshal in the hat standing up right now. He was the one who started the shoving. We have it all on camera.
What is up, man? What is up, man? What is up, man? What is up, man?
What's your name?
KPFA News. I'm a news reporter with KPFA.
The marshals are arresting a news reporter with KPFA. Jose, what's your name again?
Gutierrez, KPFA News.
They're arresting a KPFA reporter. Federal marshals.
Right now!
Absolute baton has been deployed by one of the DEA agents.
Don't you hurt him! You beat him up for nothing!
All right, people are sitting down in the street.
Jose is an innocent victim here. He happened to brush up against a U.S. Marshal. It was a very rancorous crowd, and he sort of got pushed around. But everyone that was there and saw what happened all said the same thing. He was completely innocent. Well, the U.S. Marshals flipped out. They beat him up. They dragged him into court. They charged him with assaulting them. I don't know. Is there a federal crime against using your face to assault an officer's boot? Because that's the only crime I can imagine him being charged with. And yet, he was convicted. And how he was convicted is really shameful, because the jury was bullied into making that decision. And I was able to get an interview with my good friend, Tony Serra, certainly one of the greatest attorneys in the United States, a man who was immortalized in a movie starring James Wood and Robert Downing Jr. called True Believer. But today there wasn't much to celebrate for Tony, and we talked about the devastating impact that this horrible decision is having on everyone in the light of a conviction that will follow Jose Gutierrez for the rest of his life, because beating up a police officer, that's a crime of moral turpitude, and that's the worst kind of crime you can be convicted of. So let's join my friend Tony Serra It's not the best connection that we have, so bear with us. But what's important is that you're going to hear directly from Tony what happened in that federal court in San Francisco and why all of us should be concerned about the fate of KPFK journalist Jose Gutierrez. Tony, how are you today?
I'm feeling the blues today. I just finished a 2-week, federal jury trial on a protest when the raid occurred on Oakster Dam. A person from KPFA was
Jose
out there
Gutierrez.
reporting, and
Jose
yes,
Gutierrez.
and he got convicted, and he should have never been convicted. Jury, was lack compassion and understanding. Judge ruled heavy against us, so I'm kind of distressed. But he's so strong, and he is so what would I call it? Accepting of his fate, and he did, fight the good fight, and he brought out the worst in law enforcement. Did you know? At closing argument, 20 marshals were in court, like staring at the jury, trying to intimidate them. And I turned during my closing, and I said, "Look at them. They're trying to coerce you. They're trying to influence you. Don't go for it. Be independent." But, all cases where you take on law enforcement, either for unreasonable force, like in this case, where they just beat the heck out of him and send him to the hospital and then charge him with a crime, and in cases where officers lack credibility, they're lying, they're coloring the facts from their perspective. Very difficult after 9/11. The people are scared. The jurors look to law enforcement as their protectors. They're afraid of gangs. They're afraid, of the so-called terrorists. All of the news is violent, and they're not going to go against law enforcement. They would rather give up the constitutional rights than go against law enforcement. They are trading, in essence, their freedoms for the feeling of stability, economic stability, which isn't even there. So, I'm in a mood that starts with feeling badly, feeling, cheated, and then I get bitter and cynical and angry when I think back on it. And the best cure for me, as you know, I'm a criminal trial lawyer. I go from case to case, just jump in the next one and beat their ass next time. So that's my tonic for despair.
What is the plan for Jose Gutierrez? Will there be an appeal?
No, absolutely. You see, one of the centerpieces of our case was the fact that between 5 and 10 agents, from the U.S. Marshal Service, who never really participated in these raids and allegedly had a minor role. They went out of control, and they beat him. They dragged him down underground. They kicked him. They assaulted him. They tried to hide so the cameras couldn't see it. They came into court in their bullish manners, and tried to manipulate the jury. So a big issue is what occurred immediately after this alleged assault, which at most was an inadvertent tap. Oh, a little de minimis tap on a guy who was wearing, full armor, bulletproof vest. So I'm sure he never even felt it. So the judge, in the earliest stage of the case, ruled out the unreasonable force episode. We had about 5 witnesses. We had his medical records. We had, he was taken to the hospital, and, we wanted to launch into this theory. They had interest, bias, and motive against the demonstrators, against the cause of the demonstrators, against this demonstrator, because he had a mask on, and he was a mask of a bull, and then a sign that said law enforcement are bullies. And, that's just what they were and are in this case. The judge took that away from us. Oh, it will confuse the jury, he said. And that was a centerpiece of our case. You know, we were accusing them a good offense is the best defense. You only brought the charges to avoid a civil rights action against you for beating the hell out of them. And so the judge took that away, and it like gutted the case. You know, if you want to talk about jury nullification, it was the strongest jury nullification theme you could ever think of. Seeing these officers just beat the hell out of them for no reason. So, in a way, you know, the jury was deprived of our most significant evidence of the bias that law enforcement harbored that day, not only against our client, but all of the demonstrators. So, you know, in a way, he orchestrated our defeat. In all other senses, he seemed to be fair. He seemed on occasion even to be empathetic. It's a pro bono case, so he authorized $30,000 for us to engage crowd control experts. That's unheard of. You know, normally they give 5,000 grudgingly. He says 30,000. It's a drop in the bucket. This is a pretrial motion. So we go, oh boy, this guy's, and then he would talk, oh, because he's a visiting judge. All the local federal judges in Oakland had to recuse himself because these are the same marshals that afford them protection. So there's a conflict of interest. So they brought a senior judge down from Sacramento with lots of experience, with a conservative reputation, but he seemed very empathetic. He said, oh, I was out walking last night. I saw where, you know, the dispensary used to be, and I saw all people there. Is it still working? So we were saying, well, this guy could be okay. And then he took, from my perspective, the thrust, you know, of our case from us. So we will appeal. That's what you asked. Of course we will appeal. But in the meanwhile, a guy with relatively no record, certainly no serious record, has now been convicted of a felony assault. That's moral turpitude. That will follow him the rest of his life. He can never possess any gun or a bullet or a rifle or anything like that, not that he wants to. You're deprived from voting. You're deprived from serving on a jury. Many countries won't issue you, you know, a visa if you're a convicted felon. So it's horrible. It's a mess. And, you know, he's a hero in our world, in our medical marijuana world, in the world of alternative, you know, true, honest media that's focusing on government, I don't know, inequities, dysfunctions, etc. You know, it hurts a lot, and I'm grieving but angry.
Tony, you've also had some pretty sensational wins in your long career.
Yes, my long career, and you know, I'm the oldest guy on the block, but my God, this year, from January 4th, maybe with just a few days here and there, I've been in one jury trial after the other. I did two very long death penalty, one in San Jose, one in Martinez. Then I did a long federal case in Sacramento. Then I went up to Redding on a medical marijuana case and won. Then I went into this case here, you know, with Jose, and tragically we lost. On the death penalty cases, although we didn't win, there was a death penalty, and that's a win in itself. So we did preserve life there, which was our main objective. So I'm very vigorous, not quite senile, very outspoken still. There's a trace of long hair, you know, trace of whatever you want to call it, medical marijuana aura, since I've been using first sacrament and then medicine for about 50 years, probably, you know, it's the only thing that's kept me going in a sense, because most of my heroes in the legal field have been alcoholics. You know, they got to fall off the edge. I don't know, at 60, they're confirmed alkies. And we, criminal trial lawyers in general, have always medicated what other people call stress, but mostly old-fashionedly with alcohol. And thank God for medicine now. So, you know, I'm attributing my long, you know, still active life to the strength that the cannabis provides.
All right, well, this has been Steve Cubby at Cubby TV. Catch us on Pot TV as well as Cannabis Culture websites, and have a great 420 day.
Proximity of what I hope to be, the weight so heavy where I stand, the indecision builds within my twisted sense of self.